So my question for you, Matt, is I've seen a lot of people say Deebo Samuel should not play another snap for the 49ers. What if he gets injured? First of all, should the 49ers have that same exact concern? This is the one healthy season they've had at Deebo Samuel. Yes, was it great? And was it, completely set the bar high? Yes. But the 2 seasons prior to that, he hasn't been able to stay healthy consistently. Also, this is the best they've ever seen him play. And we talked about this during our last show, whether or not he will ever have a season that matched last season. So looking at it from both sides here, both sides want to protect themselves. Is there any concern on your end that Deebo Samuel, I don't want to say peaked because that's not the right term here, but you know what I mean? Like, is there any concern from your end that Deebo Samuel, we saw the best that we're ever going to see from him, statistically speaking?
Right. I mean, of course, you look at it in terms of like the years that he's had, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And that's going back to South Carolina where he had issues with injuries. Right. And then you talk about he had soft tissue injuries to the lower body and, he came back from injuries looking chunky. And it seems like that's something that he's always going to have to stay on top of. And you look at it and there definitely is a risk on these guys that pop all of a sudden after injury prone seasons. And we've seen it time and time again. So I think both sides are definitely trying to protect themselves. The 49ers are like, well, can he stay healthy? Can we trust in that? And Deebo Samuel's like, look, I need to get paid just in case I get hurt. But it's not playing another down is not going to get you paid. Like it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a selfish look. There's going to be outside pressure from fans, from teammates, from whatever, right? You say that you think the 49ers are a good roster and things like that, and you're actively giving up time in the prime of your career to hold out for a paycheck. It's just not the best look. I think that I think he could hold out training camp, and I think that he could hold out until the regular season, but this is not something that I see stretching out into the regular season, because even if he holds out for this year, then the 49ers just go, all right, we're going to franchise tag you, sit out another year. And then at that point, it's like, well, now your value is cratered, and now we don't even care. Go ahead and see what's out there. We don't care, because if you're not going to play for us now, then we're just going to keep you from playing for anybody else, and then tank your value. Like that's and it's unfortunate to say that, but the team has the leverage. Deebo has no leverage at all. Deebo can try to get what he's going to get, but at the end of the day, the team dictates, particularly for this year. So if he wants to try to hardball him like that, they're just going to have him sit out, and he won't get game checks. So even if they franchise tag him, it'll cost the team against the cap. But let's say he sits out this entire year, they franchise him, and then he's whatever. Like, it's just like you're splitting that because the franchise tag is guaranteed, but you're splitting that between 2 years, so he becomes even cheaper to just sit him on the bench. Like, who cares? Also, so he's definitely not going to do that.
They're probably thinking, like I said, you had one good year and you're willing to sit out. Like, that's not. And I understand we're not talking about, we need the best type of person in here specifically. Yes, I know they do say that, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good from a person standpoint where you had one good year and now you're willing to sit out to make sure you get the amount of money you need. When you still are under contract for another year, when you still can then be franchise tagged on top of that. When we're talking about building a relationship, it's not a good sign. It just really, look at what it did to the relationship between Robbie Gold and the 49ers. And that's a kicker. That's a lower level when it comes to the amount of money you're paying a player. He sat out, basically held out for a higher contract. They paid it. And now there seems to be this level of animosity there, specifically from the fans.
He doesn't look like he wants to be there.
He never did. He almost never did, if I'm being honest. Did we sign a gunner? The 49ers did
George
sign
Odom.
Yeah, George Odom. They signed a receiver today. We'll get into it in a little bit.
Yep.
Ian Sharp says the hamstring issues seem to be gone. Would you agree with that, Matt, for Deebo Samuel?
Just because you have a healthy year doesn't mean they're gone.
Yeah.
Just means that he didn't have a hamstring injury. Although I believe he missed a game this year, and I can't remember from what it was. think he had like a minor knee injury.
Yeah, I think so. He also
Got hurt in the playoffs against the Packers on that final play.
And you had said it the year prior to this year, he was a little heavier. And he needed to lose that weight, and his hamstring injuries would probably improve. Seems like they did. He did look a little thinner this season, and he had a fantastic year.
Yeah, and look at it this way, like the way that the 49ers use him, is that going to lead him to be more healthy or less healthy as the seasons go on? He's 26 now, but then 27, 28 hits. Okay, now you're looking at a guy who not only do they throw the ball to, but that they hand the ball off to. So this whole wide back thing is, it's whatever. So